Hi, I'm Hector Garcia. I'm an accountant and a small business consultant. And one of the most common questions that I get is, what does a small business consultant do? What are your clients asking you to fix or solve? Now, the best way to answer that is by telling you what are the top questions that I get asked on our first meeting in a consultation session. These are the top 5 questions I get most often from my small business clients. And by the way, they feel like they're good questions, but they're all bad questions. And I feel these are the worst questions to ask a small business consultant, and I'll explain why. So I'm going to read you those 5 questions, and they're probably going to sound like great questions, and then I'll explain exactly why they're not. So these are the top 5. Number 1, how do I pay less taxes? I get asked that all the time. Number 2, how do I grow my business? How do I grow my sales? Number 3, how do I cut costs? Number 4, how do I improve my cash flow? And number 5, how do I control the labor hours of my employees? Now, all 5 of those sound like good questions to ask an accountant and a small business consultant. And I gotta tell you, more often than not, the engagements start with trying to find the answers to those questions. But one of the things I learned over time is that those questions only get you to try to solve real short-term problems. Over time, I have written down what I think are the best questions I get asked from my client, the ones that create a higher quality of a consulting engagement, and the ones that raise more questions than the first question, which takes us into a deep research mode to dig deep into the company's operations, rethink strategy, and design the ideal business for that particular owner. So here are what I think are the great questions to ask your accountant or your small business advisor that will raise the better follow-up questions and increase the level of that consultation advisory engagement. Here we go. First question, how do I increase the value of my product or service to my client? How do I increase the value of my product and service to my client? Whoever can answer that question is going to provide the best possible advice that anyone can give. It also opens up the opportunity to innovate and think about innovating your very product and service. Second question, how do I improve the effectiveness of my marketing? How do I improve the effectiveness of my marketing? To better define my target audience, reach them more often, and connect with them in a deeper level. That's a great question to ask. So I would say those are the top 2 best questions to ask, best questions to find answers for. How do I increase the value of my product or service to my business? And how do I improve the effectiveness of my marketing to reach my target clients more often and more effectively? But I got a lot more questions here. How do I perpetually continue to improve the value of my brand? How do I perpetually, continuously improve the value of my brand? Your brand is everything. Your brand is what allows you to create a brand new product, new service, reinvent yourself, move to another city, move to another country, change personnel, shake everything up upside down and sideways, and your clients will still remain loyal and buy from you, whatever you got to sell. That's the value of your brand. Fourth question, how do I attract and retain the top talent so they never consider going to work for the competition and never consider going to work for yourself and become your competitor? So how do I attract and retain the top talent so they never consider leaving you for a competitor or starting their own business and becoming your competitor? Number 5, how do I best invest in my current team and develop them to be the leaders of tomorrow? How do I best invest in my current team and develop them to be the leaders of tomorrow? Number 6, How do I step away from the business, completely step away and disconnect from the business so it can run better than how it used to run when I was there as the business owner? Great question to ask. How do I effectively step away, disconnect from this business so it runs better than how it runs when I'm there? Number 7, how do I position my company, my product, my brand, and my team? How do I position it so uniquely so that it could never, or it makes it almost impossible to compare with anyone else? How do I position myself, my company, my brand, my product, and my team so uniquely that it makes it virtually impossible to compare with others? Even if it's virtually impossible to compare others, it still needs to feel, the customer needs to feel that your brand and your product is likely to be the best choice. Maybe it's not in their price point, maybe they're not ready to buy from you, but they need to feel that your brand and your product is the best choice. That is the positioning that you need to take. Great question to ask. Question 8, how do I effectively double my prices, keep my best clients, and simultaneously lose my worst clients? So how to force my worst clients out by doubling my prices and keep my existing clients, which goes back to the first question. It's how do I create more value from my product, from my service to my customers? Typically, when you can answer the first question, you can answer this question as well. Number 9, how do I build strategic vendor relationships and strategic partnerships so that it would open brand new, completely surprising opportunities tomorrow? So how do I create strategic partnerships so it opens up brand new and surprising? You don't even know what it will be like. But how do I build relationships that are that deep that when those opportunities come in, they consider our company, our product, our services to be the right fit for that particular opportunity? Question 10. If my product and service was to be half of the current price, if I were to slash the price of my products and services in half, what would they look like? How much different would they be? What would I have to change in my operations to cut those prices in half? It's a great question to ask, great exercise to go through. Consequently, how would I double my current prices, completely double my current prices? How would that look like? What would I have to change? What would I have to do different in order for me to effectively raise the price, doubling it, and it delivering the value that the clients are willing to pay for? Question 11. If the entire service delivery apparatus, the service delivery team, the product and service delivery process was outsourced, if it was completely outsourced, what would it look like? With the exception of the owners and the top managers, what would that business look like if the entire service product delivery operation was outsourced? What would that look like? Question 12. If my employees were to own this company, if my employees were to own my company, what do you think they would change? If my employees would own this company, what do you think they would immediately change? Question 13. If you had to decrease all the salaries of your team, of your employees, by 10% across the board, if you had to, in some hypothetical scenario, you had to decrease or cut those salaries by 10%, who would stay and who would leave? And by the way, that's a great question, because the ones that would stay, there's going to be two groups. The ones that stay because they're loyal, and the ones that stay because they're not good enough to find a job somewhere else. And the ones that leave, there's also two groups. The ones that leave because they're not loyal, and the ones that leave because they're more valuable than what you're paying them right now, and more valuable than the value you're delivering to your employees as a company. Another great question to ask is, if you had to sell your company to one of your employees, let's assume all your employees win the lottery, and you can sell your company at the right price, and you had to choose which of your employees you would prefer to sell the company to, who would that be? It's a great mental exercise, great question to ask. Now, another great question is, if you were to sell your business and start all over in a different city, different country, different state, with a brand new clientele, with brand new employees, how would you design your business model different than today? And some of the answers to that question will drive you to what do you know is wrong in your business. So the follow-up question would be, what's stopping you from moving your business to that ideal state in the first place? It's a great question to think about. Another great question to ask is, how do I leverage artificial intelligence, robotics, and systems integrations to speed up everything about my business? How do I leverage technology to speed up everything about my business? And the last question on my list here is, how do we build a culture with total trust and transparency while tirelessly delivering more value than the money being exchanged in the process? Once again, how do we build a culture in the organization with total trust and transparency while tirelessly delivering more value than the money being exchanged? Remember, in an organization, there are two pieces of money being exchanged. There is the customers exchanging money for a product or service, and there's also the employees exchanging money for time out of their lives to go work for your organization. And in both ways, there needs to be a profit for the customer and for the employee. The customer has to get more out of the company than what they're paying for, and the employee needs to get more out of the company than what they're getting for the salary. And those, my friends, are what I believe to be the best questions that a small business owner and a business advisor should be asking each other in order to truly get to where the small business owner wants to get with their business. Once you answer those questions, then go back and ask, how do I grow my sales? How do I cut costs? How do I improve my cash flow? How do I pay less taxes? And how do I control my labor hours? And I suspect that if you go find the answers to those latter questions that I spoke about, you will not find the need to ask any of those initial 5 questions that most people ask their business advisors. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe to the channel, and add some comments below. Let's continue the discussion about what are the best questions a small business owner, the top employees of the business, an accountant, and a business advisor should all ask each other to make that business continuously better every day.